This is the CBC Morning Report for today, Tuesday, August 29th. I'm Tisha Hines. Good morning. In our top story, the 63 Days of Cervical Cancer and HPV Prevention Initiative is focusing on community outreach in its second year, starting today, August 29th. Founder and Barbados HPV and cervical cancer prevention advocate Crystal Penny Bowen says she is investigating the attitudes about the common human papillomavirus, HPV, and cervical cancer. In 2023, for the 63 Days of Cervical Cancer and HPV Prevention, she says the aim of targeting the community is therefore to find out everyone's level of knowledge about the sexually transmitted infection and attitudes towards cervical cancer and its screening. Joining us now live with more details is Crystal Penny Bowen. Good morning to you, Crystal.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. Just remind us why the issue is so important to you.
Yes, so the issue is important to me because last year, March 17, my mom, she passed away with the disease. She had cervical cancer. And I wanted to learn more about the cause, what causes cervical cancer, and I realized it's HPV. So the whole initiative was birthed from that, and it was focused last year on me bringing more awareness. So I walk a mile a day for 63 days, so it was 63 miles, and I was joined by at least 25 walkers from Barbados, US, and even as far as Italy, and we walked collectively 250 miles during that period. The feedback has been positive from the public, and this year I'm focusing more on investigating the barriers that relates to women, why some of them might not want to get screened, or there might be a hesitation about screening as it relates to pap smear testing.
I understand you carried out a survey recently on the issue. What was the general feedback and response like, and what generally were your findings?
Yes, so the survey was launched the beginning of August, and even though it wasn't a large survey, I mean, it was 130 individuals who responded, I still think that the data that I received is significant. What I did find from the survey is that most persons are aware of HPV, and they are aware of cervical cancer. There's access to health facilities in their community, which is very important. But the most interesting element of the survey was that at least 30% of the individuals indicated that the pap smear is uncomfortable and it is inconvenient, and that to me reflects some of the investigations that were made internationally as it relates to the barriers to things like cervical cancer screening.
How do you find people have been responding generally to your messages about cervical cancer?
The messages have been generally positive. A lot of persons are encouraging. They tell me they are happy to learn more about cervical cancer, and they all say the same thing. It's so important to get that pap smear screening, and I do my best to make sure that I keep pushing that message, and it was the message that I started the year with. In January, I had Take the Smear. I went to the media and I encourage all women to go out there and get their screening. It is very, very important in detecting cervical cancer.
Now, I understand that you also have included a book in the overall campaign, so talk to us more about that.
Yes, so to remember my mother, her legacy, I decided to produce a book. It's called Food, My Mother's Love Language, Celebrating the Life of Charlene Bowen. And it's a hybrid of a genre. It's a bio, but it also has in recipes, and it also speaks about my mom's health journey, her challenges relating to cervical cancer. She was somebody who was overweight, so she dealt with weight issues as well. I think it's something that's very relatable, and hopefully some of the proceeds of the book will go towards charity relating to cervical cancer.
So talk to us generally about the campaign, when it officially ends, and what the other activities are that you have planned.
The campaign officially ends on October 30. That's my mother's birthday. And on the 29th of October, we will have a walk. We will walk from Belleville, First Avenue, Belleville, which I grew up, and we will walk right through the community, right down Culloden Road, down to Beckles Road, and end at Browns Beach, which was my favorite and my mom's favorite spot. You know, she was a very good swimmer and she enjoyed walking. So I wanted to end off the campaign with something that's positive, something that is, requires some sort of physical activity, and just to bring more awareness about cervical cancer. In addition to that, on September the 9th, I'm going to have a virtual community outreach session. A colleague of mine from Trinidad and Tobago who's in the medical field, she will also join me, and we will have a discussion about the survey. And hopefully we will have the input of a local doctor who will be able to tell us more about HPV and cervical cancer.
Well, I want to wish you all the best with the campaign. Thanks so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Coming up on the CBC Morning Report, Donald Trump to appeal his trial date in Washington, D.C.
For the past 19 years, QFM has been sharing with you, learning from you, and together building a community for all mature audiences. That's why we say Q is good for you. To our Q family, we say thank you for staying connected to Q 100.7 FM. QFM is a station of the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. CBC, celebrating 60, connecting Barbadian communities.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad?
Critical court dates have been set in 2 criminal cases in the United States, accusing former President Donald Trump of seeking to derail the results of the 2020 election that he lost. A court docket on Monday showed that Trump's arraignment on election interference charges in the U.S. state of Georgia will take place on September 6th. Separately, a judge in Washington, D.C. set March 4th, 2024 as the start date for the former president's criminal trial on federal charges related to his efforts to overturn his 2020 election defeat in a failed bid to keep himself in power.
Donald Trump's calendar is filling up. The former US president found out his arraignment on election interference charges in Georgia will be September 6th. And at this courthouse in Washington, it was decided he will go on trial for conspiring to steal the 2020 presidential election on March the 4th next year. The decision came in a hearing that lasted just over 90 minutes. Donald Trump's defense wanted to delay the process by more than 2 years, saying with millions of documents to review, they wanted a trial date in April 2026. The prosecution wanted to proceed on January the 2nd next year. The judge, Tanya Chutkin, said both dates were unacceptable, both outside the normal windows for scheduling a trial. Donald Trump's team accused the prosecution of pursuing a show trial, but left without making any comment on the outcome. The decision by Judge Tanya Chutkin could upend the 2024 Republican presidential nomination fight. The trial starts the day before Super Tuesday, when voters in more than a dozen states cast their ballot in the primary races, and comes just 3 weeks before Donald Trump will be back in court in New York, charged with paying hush money to an adult film star.
I think going into Super Tuesday, I think their minds will already be made up. And I think these court cases are not going to sway primary voters one way or the other. They already know who Donald Trump is, and many of them have already gotten behind him.
On his Truth social media platform, Donald Trump wrote, "Today, a biased, Trump-hating judge gave me only a 2-month extension, just what our corrupt government wanted. I will appeal." Trump insists the cases, the charges against him, are election interference and he is innocent. Now, he has a firm date of when he gets the chance to prove that.
Britain's National Air Traffic Services, or NATS, was hit by a technical problem for several hours on Monday, causing widespread disruption to flights using the United Kingdom's airspace. The UK's Secretary of State for Transport, Mark Harper, says while the issue has been resolved, flights were still unfortunately affected.
Computer failure has now been identified and fixed, but not before hundreds of flights were grounded across the country. More than 500 of them were also cancelled. Airlines across Europe warned passengers to expect long delays. It's also the summer bank holiday on Monday in the UK, one of the busiest days of the year to travel. Niamh Barker has more from London.
The National Air Traffic Services say they've identified the glitch and now remedied the problem that threw a spanner in the works for the UK's aviation network and also created a domino effect impacting on travel across the continent and further afield. The problem temporarily meant that flight plans had to be inputted manually into their given system rather than all of that being done digitally. And of course, it did mean that there were restrictions on the sheer number and volume of flights that could arrive and land or depart from British airports, especially from an airport like Heathrow that is a major hub for international travel, particularly for transatlantic journeys. Planes take off and land every 90 seconds, so you can imagine very, very little margin of error there. And here at City Airport, though, woe for travellers going forward. Not all of this resolution means that things are suddenly remedied for passengers who are desperate to get on their way. Nearly every single flight here at City has been cancelled, rescheduled till at least Tuesday on this, a bank holiday, a national holiday, one of the busiest travel days of the year.
It's time now to preview what's coming up on Morning Barbados. Today we're telling you about a few rowing ladies. That's right. They call themselves Team Antigua Island Girls. You'll hear more about them and meet them. Plus, Barbados Community College's Host Families program. We're going to share more about that with you. And we're also going to talk to the young men in the Mr. Executive Challenge once again. Plus, conversations on CARICOM. That's at 6:30. But next, we have more news, sports, and weather. So stay with us.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch.
The lead attorney for the Barbados Light and Power Company is contending that the Fair Trading Commission has overreached and erred in different areas of its decisions against the company in the rate hearings held back in February of this year. King's Counsel Ramon Aline made the comment in his opening statements as the review phase of the hearings got underway at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre. Among other things, Aline is arguing that the Commission has exceeded its jurisdiction in directing his client, the power company, to take certain actions as it relates to their self-insurance fund.
The Commission has no jurisdiction to oversee the operation of the fund or the actions of its trustees regarding the assets held within. By letters dated April 19th, 2016 and May 17th, 2016 to the Commission, the applicant proactively notified the Commission of its intended withdrawal and distribution of funds. In response to this correspondence, the Commission then expressly confirmed that it has no jurisdiction in the matter of the fund, and specifically over the management of assets entrusted to the fund in a letter to the applicant dated May 19th, 2016.
Barbados Transport Board is contracting local businesses to install systems on some new electric buses. The 10 buses arrived on island this month. Chief Operations Officer Linda Holder says despite add-ons like camera systems being available overseas, it's important that where possible, local businesses benefit. CBC's Crystal Hoyt has more.
Although all the new electric buses are imported, Barbadian businesses are still benefiting from the Transport Board's investment in upgrading its fleet.
We decided that we will do some of the work here in Barbados. So some of the cameras are being installed in Barbados. The Wi-Fi equipment is being installed in Barbados to make sure that everything was not done overseas. And we kept some business here. So once that is done, we'll be able to deploy these buses.
Randy Aline is the system manager at Protect Inc. He's tasked with installing the cameras on the buses and explains why they prove to be useful on the public service vehicles.
We have installed over 40 systems in the electric buses currently. That includes 3 cameras per bus and an MVR system. The good things are the placement of the cameras. One is to the front, which can help in viewing accidents or any collisions. One is viewing at who enter or exit the bus. And the third one sees what happens inside the bus. That way you can have more control and you can view if any incidents occur in or around the bus.
He adds that the installation of these systems will assist the Transport Board in maintaining the buses.
The MVR system gives the user the fleet management aspect of it. Transport Board now can track the vehicles, the distance they travel, which can help with maintenance and when the vehicle can be pulled on or off the road. So in aspect they could do the tire wear on the vehicles, how far they travel, the tire wear will look like. And speaking of the tire management, Transport Board now can more effectively monitor the tire usage on the tires, which will help later down the road in the inventory of the tires and which buses need changing and stuff.
The new electric buses are expected to be on the road this week. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
Thank you, Crystal. Barbados has taken a major step to enhance its national multi-hazard early warning system. Home Affairs Minister Wilfred Abrams, the head of the Department of Emergency Management, and representatives from across sections of media houses signed the latest agreement on the matter. Minister Abrams stressed the MOU is very important in keeping the public informed.
Just weather events. It's not just hurricanes. Right, we're doing the early warning to cover as well tsunamis. There's a tsunami readiness plan. The early warning also does things that covers ashfall, right? And it is not just limited to natural things. If we have a disaster for some reason in Bridgetown or a part of Barbados, then we have to be able to get that message out very, very quickly that the road has collapsed around this corner. So this protocol that we are signing today and this MOU that we are signing today is as a result of negotiation with our media partners, as a result of you understanding the reasons that we are doing this.
Director of the Department of Emergency Management, Carrie Hines, says the move helps to build Barbados' resilience.
Today really represents a very important step in advancing our early warning system and advancing resilience in Barbados. The initiative, some of you may know that we have been over the past couple of months looking at advancing our policy initiative and bringing all our national stakeholders on board. as part of this global thrust, this national thrust.
The Barbados Revenue Authority is reporting success in the recent rollout of its new digital portal for land taxes. Revenue Commissioner for the authority, Louisa Ward, made the comment as officials from the BRA took part in the Digital Summer Drive, an event spearheaded by the island's major commercial banks and credit unions in Golden Square, Freedom Park, the city. The event was aimed at further educating Barbadians about the digital banking services that are available at the various financial institutions and gave them the opportunity to sign up if they had not already done so. The Revenue Commissioner says they were pleased with the response from the public.
We've had a wonderful day down here at Freedom Square. It's been a wonderful turnout for us at the Barbados Revenue Authority. Many people have come forward to register on the new online portal for land taxes. They've been successful and they've walked away in good time, and the system has worked smoothly. So we're looking forward to massive online registrations as we start to collaborate and bring our systems together. This is one way to build public trust and to make it easier for taxpayers to work online. So we look forward to having the members of the general public come forward and register online to pay their land taxes, and we look forward to servicing you, the general public.
The Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools is not pleased with the government's handling of the country's education system. The president says the future of education is showing clear signs of uncertainty, as we hear in this CVM television report.
President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Linvern Wright, is expressing dissatisfaction with the current country's education system from early childhood to secondary level, alluding to the PJ Patterson report that outlined the framework for the nation's education system. Wright notes that there's no indication the sector is being prioritized.
I see nothing in the budget this year to suggest that there's anything significant that is going to happen to transform education in the way we know it should happen. We are not satisfied with what is happening in tertiary education, what is happening in high school education or secondary education, what is happening at primary level. I mean, we are worse, not satisfied with what is happening at early childhood. I know we see some things, but we must seek to ensure that the funding is in place to deal with those things.
According to the JAP's president, it's estimated that billions will be pumped into the education system over the next 5 years. Aside from the government, he notes the opposition has not provided a solution to resolving the issue.
That person must move from being reactive to being someone who proposes what ought to happen for education in Jamaica. We need to be clear about what is going to happen for tertiary education from the opposition, what is going to happen for funding from the opposition, what is going to happen for early childhood education, how is it going to be dealing with funding the Patterson report. Those are things that I think we have to be very clear about. How is it going to deal with all the literacy challenges we're having? Those are matters that I think we have concern with, because I don't think that what prevails now is something that we can have any hope in, given the kind of statistics that are coming out.
He says the education of the youth should be taken seriously.
Education is serious business. And for that matter, any issue is serious business. And what you want is to propose solutions that people can properly analyze and say whether or not what you're doing is something that is going to make sense. It's not about just simply waiting for government to slip up. And I know both of them have done that kind of thing, but we need to move away from that kind of politics for education and everything else.
In sports, day 13 and the record attempt to row across the Northwest Passage by a group of 7 international adventurers, including Barbadian Philip Alls, remains on pause. The crew has encountered some head-on cold winds that are moving about 40 knots and measuring -3 degrees Celsius. Alls tells the Morning Report they are sheltering in a bay called Fort Ross, waiting for conditions to improve.
We stopped in to get away from some of the strong winds and the big waves, just to get dried out a bit. Conditions being kind of harsh, the winds being like 40 miles an hour, the seas being kind of coming from all directions, so like a washing machine. So at this time, we pulled into Fort Ross, we got a little bit of R&R, dry out some of our equipment, including the cold weather gear and our boots and our clothes, but we try to keep as warm as possible. The wind here is still blowing strong on the outside, but we're inside a bay, Fort Ross. You guys can look it up in the Arctic. Currently, the sun was out, but you know that doesn't last, as they say. Even up here, the sun is always cold, but today it blessed us with a little bit of heat. So we are here just doing some cleaning up and tidying up, getting the boat ship shape again for when we head back out to the open waters.
The expedition will see the crew roll the sea lane between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans through the Arctic route. That's 3,700 kilometers from Baffin Island, Canada, to Point Barrow, Alaska. It's time now for a look at the weather. The barometric pressure stands at 1009.1 millibars, is 29 degrees Celsius outside. The relative humidity stands at 76%, and the winds are blowing out of the south-southeast at 9 kilometers per hour. Present temperature is fair. Present weather, rather, is fair. Sea conditions smooth to moderate in open water with swells ranging from 1.5 to 2 meters and increasing. And here's a look at how the tides roll in for today. General forecast for Barbados, mostly cloudy with the occasional scattered light to heavy showers, periods of rain, and a chance of isolated thunderstorms. So prepare, make sure you walk with your umbrellas. Into the evening, it's going to be mostly cloudy with clear breaks with the occasional scattered light to moderate showers and a very slight chance of isolated thunderstorms. And our next newscast is Newsday at 12 noon on TV8, followed by The World at 1 on our radio network of stations, 100.7 FM, 98.1 The One, and 94.7 FM. It's time now for Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning, Barbados, good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, 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 morning.
Good morning to you indeed. Good to have you with us on today's presentation of Morning Barbados. It's Tuesday, August 29th. I'm Tisha Hines. I'll be here with you until just around 8 o'clock this morning. Boy, do we have a show planned for you today. We're going to have some good fun. We're going to tell you about some fantastic things happening here in Barbados and across the world. And we're going to meet some very, very interesting people. So I'm hoping that you can stick around for the duration of the show as we bring all of this wonderful goodness to you today on this beautiful Tuesday. So we have Dr. Gillian Birchwood who will be coming through. And as usual, she's a pediatrician and neonatologist at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital here in Barbados. We're going to be looking at the back to school checkup. I don't know how many parents are into it, but usually we get into the habit of taking the children to the doctor or taking ourselves to the doctor only when we feel like there's something wrong. So here's an opportunity for us to talk about the back to school checkup and how important it is, the specific areas that you want to look into once you get that checkup done as well. The Barbados Community College is having a host families program, and Paul Blackman, the director of the Barbados Language Center at BCC, he will be on to share more about that with us. Also, we're going to talk about the resumption of face-to-face classes, the accommodation that will be afforded, and of course we're going to talk about how this will impact students who are visiting and their Barbadian counterparts as well. Maybe you'll find out how you can be a part of it. Team Antigua Island Girls, we told you about rowing a few moments ago in the news. They're going to be here talking about their own ambitions when it comes to rowing, and they're going to be heading off to represent the entire region, not just their native Antigua, in a big initiative. We'll tell you all about that too. Plus, we are going to talk with the young men in the Mr. Executive Challenge. And we've seen them before. If you've missed them, you don't want to. It's 5 young men representing 5 schools, and they're going to be taking a challenge to show just how much they've learned being a part of, you know, this presentation over the last few months. So Very interesting stuff, and you definitely want to stick around for that too. Always great to see young people in Barbados doing fantastic work. But as we do every single Tuesday, we're going to start by taking a look at what's happening across CARICOM. And for that reason, we often invite, or always invite, sometimes he brings a few friends along. Today is the ambassador who is joining us, Ambassador David Comisham, who of course is Barbados representative to CARICOM, to join us and talk more about it. Good morning to you, sir. Welcome.
Good morning, Tisha. Pleasure to be here.
It's so wonderful to have you with us again on this Tuesday. I know our conversation last week went by so quickly because there's so much to get to. So this week we've doubled back, and we definitely want to double down on talking about all of the wonderful initiatives that we're embarking on as a nation, as a region. Yes.
Yeah, last week we were looking at some of the major items that were on the agenda at the last Heads of Government Conference, the 50th anniversary Heads of Government Conference. And I thought that that was important because I think, CARICOM covers many, many things, but I think there are about 10 very fundamental items that we're going to be hearing about again and again. The construction of the CSME, and over the next few months, there's going to be a lot of emphasis on that full freedom of movement. How do we implement that? Climate change and climate finance and reform of the international financial institutions. We're playing a big role in that. Agriculture and food security. Our collaboration with Africa, developing relationship with Africa, tackling the epidemic of crime across the Caribbean. Haiti, finding a solution to the crisis in Haiti, reparations, and we covered many of those last week. But there are three items that I would like us to focus on that came up at the Heads of Government Conference. One has to do with regional air and maritime transportation. A second one with our relationship with our associate members, that is, those 5 non-independent territories that are associate members of CARICOM. And I think we in the independent countries don't sufficiently take into account that much of the Caribbean is still colonized, and it must be our mission to help to decolonize our entire region. So we have these associate members, but we also have other non-independent territories that are applying to become associate members. And then finally, the efforts that CARICOM is making to help secure the removal of the sanctions that the United States of America in particular has imposed upon 2 of our sister Caribbean countries, that is Cuba and Venezuela. So I don't know which one you want to start with, Tisha. You take your pick.
Well, I think one of the things that is high on the agenda is, of course, transportation, intra-regional travel or interregional travel. When it comes to air and sea transport, I think that's very, very important at this time. So let's start there.
Yeah. Well, actually, what I would like to do is to actually read the text of the report on the decisions that came out of that conference, specifically on this issue of transportation. Having considered the paper entitled Update on Regional Air and Sea Transport in caucus, in caucus is when the prime ministers get together in private to look at what might be a sensitive matter. The conference, number 1, acknowledged the ongoing urgent need to address the existing challenges with regional air and sea transportation. Number 2, acknowledge that a cooperative approach between governments and the private sector was needed to resolve the current regional air transport situation. Number 3, commended the governments of the Bahamas and Trinidad and Tobago for increasing regional flight offerings with Bahamas Air, and Caribbean Airlines, respectively. Express appreciation for the Caribbean Development Bank-led initiatives with respect to transportation in the region, and look forward to receiving the report from the Caribbean Development Bank within the next few weeks. Now, that report is very important. The CDB, we all recognize that there's a serious problem with air transportation in our region, particularly with the collapse of LIAT, the shutdown in regional air transportation during those 2.5 years of COVID. And so we have a bit of a crisis. So the CDB, our Caribbean Development Bank, they have come to the table and they are looking at putting together a solution, which no doubt, as a banking institution, they will help to finance. So that gives viewers some idea as to how this matter was dealt with at the last Heads of Government Conference and where we are going with this matter.
Let's talk a little bit about what this would do for Caribbean trade, for Caribbean travel, for us to be able to truly freely move across the region at prices that are reasonable to Caribbean nationals.
Well, I personally think that if we are an integration mechanism of mainly island territories, obviously connectivity has to be at the core. And it is my personal view that we have not prioritized connectivity enough. My feeling is that if we put in place mechanisms for air and sea transportation, telecommunications, all of the aspects of connectivity, that the trade, the tourism, the business activity will follow, once people and goods can move. And unfortunately, I think over the years, CARICOM, and CARICOM is all of us, when we say CARICOM, our region, that we have not sufficiently prioritized this. I mean, there was a time when we had 2 ships. We, the governments of the region, we owned our own 2 ships coming out the West Indian Shipping Corporation, coming out of the Federation, the Federal Palm and the Federal Maple. And we allowed that company to basically become bankrupt. We had LIAT, and we didn't do enough to preserve LIAT. LIAT went into collapse. So hopefully now we can understand that transportation has to be a priority, and that we have to solve this. We have to solve this. We need our people to be able to move freely, inexpensively. Many of our governments made mistakes over the years in putting so many taxes onto airline passengers. They now recognize it was a mistake, but many of them are struggling to see, if we remove these taxes now, where is the revenue that the government needs? Where is that revenue going to come from? What can be the alternative sources? So, Tisha, I will not say that there are any easy answers, because transportation solutions are going to cost money, and perhaps money that at present the region doesn't have. And this is why I think the private sector is so important. I think there's a recognition the governments cannot do it themselves. So there has to be a private sector input, and even an input from outside the region, finance from outside the region. But I want to give our people the assurance that it is very much concerning the heads of government. It is a standard item on the agenda, and it is being worked on. And let us wait and for that CDB report, because there's a lot of hope that CDB that CDB report will bring a number of concrete solutions to the table.
Absolutely. Now, the whole effort in fostering a deeper and more supportive relationship with the CARICOM associate members, most certainly the non-independent territories that you talked about, what will this look like for us?
Well, a number of these territories, and let's call their names. It's the British Virgin Islands, the Cayman Islands, the Turks and Caicos Islands, Bermuda, and Anguilla. Many of them, they have an ambition. Some have an ambition to ultimately become independent. Certainly, they all have ambitions to be as self-governing as possible. And in recent times, we have had the British Virgin Islands in particular facing a threat from Britain to kind of reverse the gains that the British Virgin Islands had made over the years in asserting self-governance. And so there's this threat hanging over the head of the British Virgin Islands that Britain may revert them to direct colonial rule from London. CARICOM is saying no to that. So we are standing in solidarity. We are supporting the British Virgin Islands in maintaining their self-government. But all non-independent territories are under the purview of a United Nations Decolonization Committee. And international law says that these non-independent territories should be moving gradually in the direction of full self-government and independence. And so the non-independent, our associate members have said to us that they need greater support and greater involvement from the full members of CARICOM in their affairs. And so we have agreed that annually we're going to have a major heads of meeting where the heads of government are going to meet with the associate members and hear from them what is the state of play and what they need from us. So we got a report on the first such special heads of government conference where the entire focus was just on the needs of the associate members, what they need from us. And that is going to be now an annual exercise. Also, it was agreed at that July meeting that we are going to be bringing Martinique on board as a new associate member of CARICOM, and also Curacao. But the Martinique process is further advanced than Curacao. So what we can see emerging is a kind of CARICOM policy to bring more of these non-independent territories into the CARICOM fold as associate members, and then to mentor them and to work with them towards greater self-governance and ultimately towards independence. And this is something that all of us should have an interest in, because we must have a mission and ambition that our Caribbean region be totally decolonized and we be a totally independent and sovereign region.
And I know later today, quickly, you're going off to Guyana for a very important meeting with 17 major companies in more talks trying to advance what we're doing across the region.
Yeah, well, yes, I go to a meeting at the CARICOM Secretariat tomorrow. And this is a very important meeting because right now we have a project ongoing where we are examining 17 CARICOM institutions. The CARICOM institutions are institutions that were set up directly by CARICOM. So, for example, in Barbados, we know of CDEMA, Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. We know of CXC, the Caribbean Examinations Council. These are all CARICOM institutions. There are, in fact, 18 such CARICOM institutions. And our governments thought the time had come where they needed to be reviewed. We needed to have a fresh look at all of them to determine, are they still fit for purpose? Are they operating in the most efficient manner? And so we have a team of consultants that have been examining all of these institutions over the past, about 18 months or so. And the project has now reached the phase where the consultants are about to issue their final report. And so I am a member. There's a small oversight committee for this project, and Barbados, and therefore me, and we are members of that small oversight committee. So we are meeting at the CARICOM Secretariat tomorrow with the heads of all of these CARICOM institutions, plus the consultants on the project, where we will look at the draft final report. Ultimately, this report will be finalized and it will go before the heads of government for their adoption. So we will, in the months ahead, we will be seeing some measures that will look at making these institutions more efficient, perhaps merging some of them, rationalizing them and making them more efficient, more fit for purpose, more cost effective.
Ambassador, for coming through and sharing with us, as always, very, very enlightening. I wish you safe travels today, and we certainly look forward to you sharing with us all that comes from those meetings you're hoping to attend. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Tisha. Great day to you as well.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're talking about checkups as we get ready for back to school.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to Max Pack Extra at just $23. Call MCTV today at 228-6288 to upgrade or come in and sign up for a new service. Football fans, let MCTV get you back in the game.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
98.1 to 1 is more than a station. We don't just play music, we keep you company, cheer you up, keep you informed and entertained. We are a vibe. What do you mean?
Eight minutes to go now before 7 o'clock. 8 minutes to 7 now. The time is going by very, very quickly. And I'm talking about the summer holiday as well, not just today. It's almost time for the children to go back out to school. I know as parents, we've been getting things together. Doing that back to school shopping is not always easy. But one of the things that we'd love for you to consider is getting that checkup for the children to make sure they're in the pink of health, I think they refer to it as they head back into the classrooms. Let's say a special good morning to consultant pediatrician and neonatologist at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Dr. Gillian Birchwood. Always wonderful to have you with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Tisha. How are you doing today?
I don't know. Usually I'm great, but I'm having some challenges with my sinusitis. It's that crazy
the
level.
Sahara dust.
Yeah, the guys are taking care of me. They have all types of remedies they're bringing into the studio for me. But I sound like I'm holding my nose and talking to you. So
And you still sound great. So,
oh, thank you. You're too kind. Let's start there for people who have, for the young children who have allergies and sinusitis and stuff like that. This time of year must be really crazy with all of the environmental challenges. So let's get into how we're going to be able to take care of the children as they get ready for back to school, particularly because I'm constantly walking around with a big bunch of tissue and stuff like that. People are bringing me tissue into the studio, but at a time where there's still, so many viruses going around and we're still thinking about the pandemic in the back of our heads, I'm kind of nervous about going places and blowing my nose all the time.
That's true. It is back to school season, as you said, and it's really, really important. Parents will think about getting the uniforms and the books, but it's really important to make sure, as you said, that the child is really in the pink of health. They're ready to go back out to school. For many children, the only time that they go to the doctor is once a year when they reach school age. They no longer need so many vaccinations, but they really do need that checkup. When you are going to your doctor and taking your child for their regular checkup, we're not only looking at the physical condition of the child, we are definitely also looking to make sure that that child is emotionally, psychologically, and physically ready as well to go back out to school. There are checkups for things such as how they're growing, whether they're gaining weight appropriately, if they're too much, too little, if they are seeing well and hearing well, because that's important in school, and children don't always volunteer that information. And in addition to that, how are their chronic illnesses, if they have any? How is their asthma? How, are their sinuses and allergies going? Do we need to manage those? Because if you have a problem with chronic allergies, the child may not sleep well and therefore may not function well at school. So it's really important at this time of year to make sure that your child is really ready, because the school year can be quite demanding. And I think parents should give consideration to that when they're getting their children ready for school.
Definitely a lot to kind of comprehend. So where should we start as parents? Most children, once they get to a certain age, you're not taking them to the pediatrician. So the transition for the tweens and teens might be a little different. So, what plan should we make?
Well, pediatricians see children up to age at least 18 and sometimes beyond that, because they may have conditions that are really important that you carefully transition them to an adult physician by that time. So we see children from birth right through adolescence and all those changes that happen in between. And then there is the transition they will have going into primary school, because we tend to think of the very young children going into primary school. But we have to think of the transition from primary school to secondary school, and then the physical and emotional transition through adolescence. And that can be a lot to navigate. And so it's really helpful to have your doctor standing by your side, and it's important to have your child's regular doctor, whether that's a family physician or whether that's their pediatrician. It's really important to be going to the same doctor on a regular basis. And so, as I said, back to school is a great time of year for them to undergo that regular checkup. Now, an example of the types of things for example, if your child is a regular athlete and they are involved heavily in sports, track and field, swimming, cricket, football, netball, you name it, that places a lot of demands on their body, and they will need what we call a pre-participation sports physical, which is a little bit different from a regular checkup, because you're going to be looking into whether they can actually physically handle these sports. We hear all the time on the news about people collapsing. It's not a very common occurrence, but when it does, it's very remarkable, because it would be someone who would be considered to be in the peak of health. So in a pre-participation sports physical, we're looking for risk factors that would mean that you may have to take special precautions if you're an athlete. Are you asthmatic? Is that well controlled? Do you have seizures? We don't want you to have seizures when you are involved in a sport, for example, like swimming. Are your child's seizures well controlled if they happen to have epilepsy, for example? Is there a family history of any heart problems that we need to look into more carefully? Because if they're going to be involved in an athletic discipline, that may take more demands on their body. So having a pre-participation sports physical is particularly important. if you have an athlete or a child who's heavily involved in athletic activities. And that's just one thing that a doctor would need to look for when a child is going back out to school.
Now, one of the things that we don't often think about is checking on their emotional health. And I think that's very important as well.
Yes, I'm really glad you brought that up because going to school may be a big transition for children. If I was in primary school and then suddenly I'm going to secondary school, or I've never been to school before and I'm going to school, or I'm going to a new school, I'm transferring from one school to the other, there may be that anxiety that a child may feel. And we need to acknowledge that having some degree of anxiety can be quite normal, but it's really important to address it. Children may have low degrees of anxiety, but they may also have really quite severe, perhaps even debilitating anxiety that they may not be aware of how to share this with you. And so it's important to have that conversation. Prepare your children. Make sure that you go to the physical campus of the school, visit the school on the outside, say this is where you're going to be. Focus on the positive. You're going to meet new friends. They may be old ones from the place that you came from. You'll be going to play on that, school ground. You're going to be a very nice teacher. Make sure that you prepare them so they're focused on the positive, and that's going to help to diminish the negative emotions that they may have about going to school. Or their friends perhaps may have gone off, someone they may have been close to. So you're going to prepare them, your favorite friend has migrated overseas, but there's still other friends, so you are going to enjoy school. And help them to understand how they should cope. They're going into secondary school. Prepare them with a timetable. Give them coping skills and don't just assume that they will have them. And this will give them an edge when they're ready to go to school.
Oh, that's all very, very true. And the ones who are going overseas, maybe, that's a different type of challenge. But I think the biggest challenge for parents is going to be weaning the children off the screen time, weaning them off the television, getting them back into the school routine, getting to bed on time. How are we going to do this?
Yes. Well, that is a big challenge because we all know what's been happening in households across Barbados. The parents go to bed at 11 and the children are going to bed at 12 because they are up playing on those video games, or 1 o'clock, exactly. They're up playing those video games. The sleep schedule has gone out the window. The parents can't fight anymore about screen time. And so everything has broken down. But you have got to wean them back, and you're not going to want to wean them back 2 days before they go back out to school. You need to start doing that now, start cutting that screen time back, so that they will be accustomed when they're ready to go back into school, that they're not going to be staring at the screen. By now, children's eyelashes are glued to the screen. They've been staring at them for so long. Peel those eyelashes off their devices and get them back into school mode. Get back into the sleep routine. Children should be in bed by 8 or 9, the latest, depending on their age. And you need to get them back into that mental frame of mind. So don't wait to do that the night before, because they're going to have a rough transition trying to get back into the mental space that is required for going to school. So start now, parents.
And I know during the summer, a lot of the times we revert to not the healthiest of meals. So to get them back on track with that might be a bit of a challenge as well.
Yes. So start thinking about how you're going to prepare those school meals, as you said. Perhaps children may have school meals at school, and they've made a lot of effort to make sure that those are more healthy. And if you send them to school with a packed lunch, start getting those meal ideas together that will be interesting to the children. Involve them, because they might often tell you, Mom, I like apples, but I don't like grapes. So don't put grapes in the lunchbox. That's going to come right back home. So start thinking about those snacks. And, if you've done a little bit too much fast food, start reining it in. And please, parents, healthy snacks. We don't want to send them to school with corn kernels and chocolate. We want to see fresh fruit. We want to see those things that are good for your child to have and will help them to be in their peak health, as well as it will help their immune system and give them that boost that they need to focus when they go to school. And don't forget, breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Birchwood. You've certainly given us some food for thought. Lots to do.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Of course, as we prepare for back to school, because I know we say the children are preparing for back to school, but the parents are intimately involved as well. And it calls for us getting to bed earlier, for us eating better, and for us getting them, back to the routine and stuff as well. So it kind of, the restrictions are imposed on us as well.
Yes, that's very true. We need to all rein it back in.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful day today and a great week ahead. Thank you so much for sharing, as always.
Thank you. I wish you better and have a great day.
Thank you so much. I feel, I'm hearing everything double in my ears.
You need to go to your pediatrician.
I do. Have a good one. All right, definitely working on some remedies for this. And it seemingly gets a little worse when you sit in AC, that's how it goes. All right, we're going to take another break and come on back on Morning Barbados. Stay with us.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
We enjoy a game with dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love cruise.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. It's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a party yet.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
So good in a party yet. You know why?
Cometh the hour, cometh the Ugandan. Holloway defends his title. Glorious goal to Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price. With the heart of an American lion, Lyles has roared back to the top. 2 world records in one night. We're watching a once-in-a-generation athlete. The practice, is it on? Oh, it's ridiculous. You could not script that any better.
Let's take you to Budapest, Hungary for the World Athletics Championships.
Coming to MCTV in August.
It's summer vacation, and CBC TV8 says laugh a little. Your mid-mornings have now included some family-friendly, side-splitting series like The Partridge Family, Benson, and Designing Women. TV not to be missed this vacation.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Hey, just about 7 minutes now after 7 o'clock. Again, good morning to you and welcome. Good to have you with us on Morning Barbados. Hey, so now we're fully back into the face-to-face teaching, no longer hybrid for a lot of students. And for that reason, the Barbados Community College, they're resuming a very special program where students get to travel and meet families and stay. And it's often a really great experience to take us into life and to get ready for the world of work and just living generally. So let's say good morning to Paul Blackman, who's the director of the Barbados Language Center at the Barbados Community College. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Barbados. Bonjour, Tisha.
Bonjour.
That means hello. Good morning.
I remember.
Excellent.
All right, good to have you with us. So talk to us a little bit about this program and who the students are that participate in this particular host families program in terms of the ones who are coming to Barbados.
Certainly. The last time I was on your show, I talked about our associate degree program, which caters to Barbadians. Or English as a foreign language program caters to people who are obviously not Barbadian. They're coming from overseas. Their first language is not English. And the host family program is critical to the success of our entire program because our students are welcome into Barbadian homes and they get accustomed to Barbadian life and culture. And so the program is a critical element of the English as a foreign language program.
All right, so you're looking for host families to participate in the program. Tell us more.
Right. So as I said, we have an excellent program, but there are several elements that go towards making the program a success. So access to the program, how they're welcome to the college, and a very, very important part of the program is where the students stay. The Barbados Community College does not have dorms. And so we look to Barbadian families to come forward to host the students. And we use family in a fairly broad sense. It could be a single individual who's willing to take a student into their home, or it could be a family with children. What we're finding more and more is that, especially for summer, we're getting requests for younger people. We don't usually cater to that under 16 group, but in recent years we've had a number of requests for people aged 12 to 16, and so we're looking especially for families with school-age children who are studying French or Spanish, or they don't even have to be studying a language. We're looking for families that will take people in, treat them nicely, and show them a good slice of Barbadian life.
Generally, what have the reviews been like over the years? I've known a few people who have actually done the program and they themselves really enjoyed having the students stay. But from the other side of things, what have the responses been like over the years?
Generally favorable. I mean, sometimes the students have to get accustomed to feelings. Like they say the Barbadians eat a lot of chicken and they have a lot of soft drinks. But generally speaking, the response is very positive. Recently, we had a student come back from, I think he was originally living in Belarus, and he was in Barbados some 20 years ago, and he came back to Barbados to bring his wife to show her where he had stayed, and he wanted to visit his host family and one of the families that he had met through the program. And so generally the response is favorable, and relationships are established, and people come back and they stay in the same family, or they recommend that family to others, or somebody writes to us and says, come into Barbados for the class, but I want to stay with family X. Classic example, we had our summer program. We had a lady who stayed in one of our families, and her friend is coming in 2 weeks' time to join our program, and she insisted on that family. So I think speaks volumes for the quality of reception in the families that we use.
Oh, that's excellent. So what are the requirements? Because there might be some families looking on who are thinking, this might be a good thing for us to try as a family, particularly. And I know you said it doesn't have to be specific, but if they have school-aged children who are studying languages, this could be a positive as well. So what are some of the requirements?
Exactly. In terms of the family, as I said, it's family in its broadest sense. It can be a single individual. But in terms of accommodation, we are asking you to provide the student what we call a study bedroom, which is basically a bedroom with a desk. In this day and age, we look to think that everybody has access to the internet, so we'd want for you to have internet access. That's the accommodation, the physical part. But more importantly, we want you to extend a warm welcome to this individual who becomes a part of your family for anything from a week to 10 days to an entire academic year. And you want for that person to feel welcome, especially where there's a family setting and you want them to sit down to have dinner with you, have breakfast with you, go out with you on the weekend, go to the supermarket, that kind of. So they're thoroughly immersed in Barbadian culture and food, and they go to oysters and they go to Bridgetown, and when they come in the summer they take part in corporate activities, that kind of thing. But the idea is welcome someone into your home, treat them like a family member, or maybe better, and see that, and that enhances therefore what's happening in the classroom, where they're exposed to the techniques in teaching, and they have excellent teachers. But what happens outside the college is equally important to what goes on in the college, in the classroom.
What's the screening process like?
Essentially, if you're interested in the program, you can go to our website and fill in a form, or you can call us. We take your information, and then eventually our accommodation officer will visit you to make sure that if you say you live in a house with 2 bedrooms, that's what you're offering, and you meet our standards. I mean, as a rule, we hardly return people on because the people who come forward are genuinely interested, and therefore, you usually pass the test.
Oh, that's wonderful. How much accommodation are you looking for in terms of the number of students you're expecting to participate in the program this time around?
Um, as I said, there's no limit. Just to give you an example, over summer we had a group coming from Martinique. This was younger persons, and there were 16 people in the group, and they wanted one person per family. So therefore, we would have had to have had 16 families with school age children to accommodate these youngsters. And so we're always looking to ramp up the. We can never have too many families, and we want a range of families as well.
Generally, as a language teacher, what does this do for students who are studying a foreign language to be able to live and really interact and engage every single day with people who are speaking in the language that you are learning?
It is, I think it's the ultimate experience. I think it's probably even more important than what happens in the classroom, because you are in the real world. You go to the supermarket on Saturday, and the cashier says, pass up your things. You're not going to hear that in the classroom, or you go to St. Lawrence Gap, and you order 2 drinks or whatever, and the bar, there's noise going on around you and so on. So the home experience, the family experience is critical, because it's true immersion. There's no teacher to speak slowly and pronounce clearly and enunciate and say, repeat for me, please, and so on. You're talking to the snow cone man who just wants to sell 4 snow cones and wants to know if you want ice, or if you want more milk or whatever. And so the student is forced to come up to speed very, very quickly, but it's usually a very, very useful and enriching experience, because it is language as it is lived by Barbadians. And a number of our students come away even speaking Bajan fluently. So, that's the ultimate experience, where the person is totally immersed. And yeah, the young soul had a very nice Bajan accent. I was impressed. But that's what it's all about, the immersion experience, where you're hearing the language as spoken by real people. It's not on a nice cassette in the lab, where it's everything under control. So that immersion experience, I would say, is as important, if not even more important than what happens in the classroom.
All right, good stuff. I myself had an exchange experience in my school days, and I have a friend to this day who his only stories about Barbados are the very Barbadian, very colorful words he first learned when he got here.
Oh, I can tell you stories about that, but maybe off air.
All right, and I certainly hope that our students here will also have that opportunity to be able to travel and immerse themselves in new cultures and languages and things of that nature.
As a matter of fact, yes, we now that COVID has subsided, we're actually going to restart our exchange programs. Our students now go overseas, and when we do go overseas, and I travel with several groups, the teacher himself stays in the family. So as a matter of fact, one of my better friends, I messaged him only yesterday. I met, as he was he and his wife, they're my hosts when I did my maybe second visit from the Barbados Community College back in, well, I won't say the year, a long time ago. And to this day, we are friends. He's come to Barbados and stayed with me. His wife and children come to Barbados and stayed with me. So even our teachers actually fully experience, what it is like to be part of an exchange visit, to be part of a host family, to be immersed in the culture, and it's something that I highly recommend. So if you're interested in becoming a host family, certainly you will enrich your own life and the life of some young or not so young person from overseas who's visiting Barbados.
Absolutely. Again, the Barbados Language Center, the website is barbadoslanguagecenter.com. I guess can you navigate from the Barbados Community College page, or is this a standalone site?
You can also go to the Barbados Community College page, but it will give you a link to our website. So it's easier to cut out the middleman and go straight to barbadoslanguagecenter.com. I can see it coming across the screen, and there you've got all the information that you need, and we'll be happy to to respond. We'd love to have you.
Oh, that is excellent. And finally, as a language teacher, and of course, we could see how gung-ho you are about languages. Let's talk about how important it is at this particular time for young people, especially, to move into the world of work equipped by being, at least bilingual, at least having 2 languages under their belt.
I cannot stress that enough, Tisha, and I'm glad that you raised it, because I hope to come back another time and talk about our national language initiative. But really and truly, I'd like for every Barbadian to be able to converse, if only minimally, in a foreign language. We're a tourist destination. We get tourists from all over the world. Our product is enhanced if not only the people in the hotels, but Barbadians on the street can give directions and help people out. And as a rule, I want to let young people know who are studying that even though you may be a scientist, for example, it doesn't hurt to have a language. Right now, for example, we're offering Chinese to our computer studies science simply because China is where a lot of the action is. I originally spoke to the Japanese, and that's where things like robotics and so on are taking place. So if you're a scientist but you have your language, it enhances your opportunity for the study. Or agricultural students, that's the 2 exchanges with schools in Martinique and Guadeloupe. So generally speaking, it enhances your employment options, but also enhances you as a person to have experience, studying a language. Even if, like, you're Nadia, you're not in a job where you're using your language every day. But I'm sure that the experience of having studied language with us has enhanced Nadia and made her the beautiful person that she is today. So Nadia, you're in trouble. Your colleagues are going to give you a hard time after I've said all that, but it is true.
And that was an inside story. Nadia is our producer. They were having conversations in the back. I sold you out. I want to thank you so much, Paul Blackman, for sharing with us this morning. And I certainly hope that you get big response. A lot of people sign on to be a part of this fantastic initiative. And I look forward to hearing about our students going as well. Sorry, continue.
Certainly, I want to thank you for having me, and I hope to come back, as I said, to talk about the National Language Initiative and Barbadians like yourself, so that in future, Morning Barbados will be bilingual. You'll have subtitles coming across the screen in Spanish, for example.
Absolutely.
Thanks again. Merci infiniment.
Well, gracias. I'm going back to Spanish.
Not a problem. It's a language.
Have a great day. That's Paul Blackman, Director of Barbados Language Center, Barbados Community College. So make sure you sign up if you absolutely can. Hey, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're meeting some ladies who are rowing their way to victory. That's next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's summer vacation, and CBC TV8 says, laugh a little. Your mid-mornings have now included some family-friendly, side-splitting series like The Partridge Family, Benson, and Designing Women. TV not to be missed this vacation. Weekdays from 10 a.m. on CBC TV8. CBC is celebrating 60 years of broadcasting in Barbados. A friend and a helping hand in the community. CBC, connecting Barbadian communities. It's Match Day Live from the 246 with host Damian Best. Your all-access pass to the action happening in the BFA Premier League.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, welcome back. Just about 22 and a half minutes after 7 o'clock. Time now to meet some very interesting ladies who they've rolled their way to victory. That's right. So in June, these ladies completed one of the toughest rows that we know about. They rowed across the Pacific, and there's a whole lot more going on with them. So let's welcome Crystal Clashing, Samara Emmanuel, and Kavinia Francis, who are members of Team Antigua Island girls. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. Good to have you with us. And it looks like you're all different places in the world. I don't know. We'll figure that one out. But talk to me, Crystal, a little bit about how you got into this particular area of sports.
Yeah, so with ocean rowing, there is a particular race that begins in the Canary Islands and ends in Antigua. And they've been doing that for the last 12 years or so. And in 2015, we had our first Antiguan team go in. And then after that, there was a second team in 2017 into 2018. And when that team came in, there was a call for an all-female team because the previous two teams are all male. And so about 15 women answered that call, and then it whittled down to the 4 of us that did the Atlantic, and now the 3 of us that have done the Pacific this time around.
All right, so Samara, talk to me about what it was like. I know that our own Philip Alls here in Barbados has, he's rowed across the Atlantic, and we kind of got little peeks of what the space is like. But what's it like for you preparing for big rows, long rows like this?
Well, preparation was very intense, very, very tough. Like Crystal said, we did the Atlantic before, so we kind of had knowledge of the do's, the don'ts, what works for us and what doesn't. This concentrated more on endurance training, so making sure that we could 2 hours or more, up to 4 hours. Yes, and the row itself was pretty tough. It was extremely cold, first of all, for us islanders. And then Pacific, it was very rough, big seas, huge swells, rolling waves, everything that you could imagine. It was crazy out there. Yeah, do it as a team, and I'm very happy for that.
Wow, now Miss Francis, I know that in our heads we're thinking that you're out there and all alone, but you have some support vessels and so on that travel with you. Talk to us about what's happening once you get out on the seas.
So we that's a misconception. We do not see any other vessel after about 6 hours on into the Pacific. It's an unassisted ways, so you do have satellite phones if you need to call to get some guidance on being an electrician, on being a medical personnel if somebody got injured. So we're all alone out there. Our shift patterns, we did 2 hours on, 1 hour off for the first about 3 days. So very little sleep, which means, we had hallucinations at night. As Sam said, it was pitch black. One thing to note, we've never rowed before doing the Atlantic in 2018. So we had to learn to row in 2018 to be successful in both crossings. And we're just having to battle the elements was really difficult. This particular row, we had waves coming from us, splashing into the boat from all direction. We had the winds trying to blow you off course. It was really tough, but we held it down, just kept singing our soca songs, playing them, and just pushing through until we were successful after 41 days.
What was on that playlist? We definitely need to know that. If that playlist got you across the Atlantic, I want to play it.
Yeah, it was a whole cross section, yes, of Trinidad, Barbados, Grenada, of course, Antigua. Yeah, it was a mixture of everything. Soca, transcends each island.
Soca can do anything, even get you across the Atlantic. That's
and
good
the Pacific.
And the Pacific, of course. Now, for you, Crystal, I know that we heard a lot about the elements and you guys battling the elements. What did you find was most difficult? Was it most difficult for the cooler temperatures or just rowing throughout the day in the open ocean with that bright sunlight?
Well, we didn't get the bright sunlight until maybe 4 weeks in. So it was very I'd say gloomy kind of atmosphere for most of the Pacific. But every time night came around, we knew something intense was going to happen, because at night it's just like as if the waves would intensify, the squalls would come more often. Sometimes that worked in our favor, which we enjoyed, because the squalls come with wind and rain, and whenever we get wind, we're very happy, especially when it's working in our direction. So once things were working for us, we were happy for that, but it does get more intense at night. But somehow I was able to row better at night sometimes, so I'm not sure what was going on there.
All right, I know that you guys have made a few firsts. One of the first is that you're the first black team, male or female, and the first Caribbean team to row the Atlantic, where you completed the Atlantic Challenge in January of 2019 in 47 days, 8 hours, 25 minutes. What does it mean to you, Samara, to be able to accomplish a feat like this?
It's an awesome feeling. I'm very proud to be representing, first of all, my country and the Caribbean. As you know, in sports, a lot of the times, the field's white, male dominated, and to be black women in the Caribbean venturing into totally sport that is unknown to us here. We don't have rowing in Antigua. Was definitely a challenge getting to the start line, but say both crossings, the endings were very, very rewarding and fulfilling. And yes, we are extremely.
Wow, Miss Francis, what about you? I know it had to be tough. Those are long days and nights, but you guys are keeping on because you're building up on these accolades. As I mentioned at the beginning, you certainly are rowing yourselves to victory.
Yeah, so besides, as Sam said, doing it for country, both our rows, we have been rowing to raise funds for very specific charity, female. So the first one, it was for girls in a home that were underserved, abandoned. And this time around in Antigua, we don't have any facility for girls that get in trouble with the law. So this one was to build a facility so that we can have girls placed in appropriate settings and get the second chance they need through rehab and guidance. And so it's very dear to our hearts to be able to give back to our community, to make a difference. Like Sam said, we're breaking barriers, taking up space where we don't see any representation for ourselves, and hopefully with that open opportunities for the future of our islanders.
Absolutely. Now, I know in keeping with what you're hoping to do in raising funds, I know that you guys are encouraging people to support you in that regard. So, you know, you can go ahead and talk about that as well, your efforts to continue through donations, because it's very important. I would imagine people don't think about the amount of gear and supplies that you need to be able to row in the Atlantic for 47 days because, or the Pacific, because you can't say, I'm going to go to the supermarket, girls, and come on back. I'm going to nip out to a restaurant and grab something to eat. So it calls for a lot of resources. So talk to us a little bit about that, Crystal.
Yeah, so just getting to the start line is a monumental feat. We have, as you mentioned, food supplies we have to have for 60 days. And then this is for per person based on body weight. And then we have all of our gear. We have all the electronics that go on the boat. And the boat itself is very expensive, and we're still trying to pay off for this boat. And then whatever we raise in excess goes to the charity. And no, this venture is not just the building of the facility. What happens is that we need to now make sure that this facility is sustainable. It has resources, both physical and human, to maintain a well-functioning operation.
Absolutely. Samara, what's the training like to be able to get ready for this? Must take a lot of preparation as well. You ladies were looking fantastic there with your teammate in your Antigua colors. I have Antigua roots too, through marriage.
Yay.
Yes.
Yes, we definitely try to rep our country as much as we can. Training was very intense. We started training, if I'm not wrong, January of last year, January of 2022. We started out in the gym, doing mostly core work and endurance training. We were on the Concept 2 rowing machine, which Kevin has in the background. So that machine, we rode on that for like 2 hours, all the way up to like 6 hours. And of course, we have underwater training. So we try to get out on the sea every weekend to do, a row, minimum of 2 hours. Also, we had a lot of mandatory courses because, as you can appreciate, crossing the Atlantic or the Pacific, it's not just an easy feat. It's not you just get up and say, I'm going to go. You have to have certain skill set. So you have to have like essential navigation to make sure that you can get from point A to point B. You have to have sea survival skills. So if you end up going overboard or you have to abandon to the life raft, you have to know how to survive out there. You have to have firefighting skills, ocean rowing courses. What else? I think we had of course, first aid, definitely first aid. So there's a lot of different qualifications that you need to have before you actually venture off on a road like this to make it a safe crossing.
Well, Miss Francis, talk to me about what it actually means. I know she mentioned that the rowing machine is there behind you. We can kind of see it a little bit on the outside, on both sides of you. But what's it like actually being on that little vessel in terms of movement? I mean, taking care of yourselves. For us as Caribbean people, I think the next thing is, and forgive me for this, but usually when we think about things like these, we think about our countrymen of lighter hues, particularly
Definitely.
because the families are thinking, what, are you going to jump into the sea? The sea has no back door. What are you going to do? I can hear the grannies and aunties and neighbors right now, telling you all the things that could go wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we did get a lot of that. But the good thing is Atlantic Campaigns, who are the organizers, they make it very as safe as can be. So there's crisis operations that we have to be very knowledgeable about. In the event of a crisis, what should we do? We did have a lot of people that were fearful for us. The Atlantic was very nice compared to the Pacific, so we may not have understood in its entirety why people were so scared, but the Pacific actually made us understand. It was, like we said, at night, pitch black, so you actually felt your insignificance amongst the vast environment that you were in. The boat is very light, so it's responsive to waves. So if you can imagine, sometimes with these strong, very forceful waves breaking, you actually, a little worried, got a little concerned about actually the boat flipping. We're always strapped into the boat, so even if it flips, we're tethered to the boat for safety reasons again. And Crystal did have to go over to clean the barnacles. So while she was in cleaning the barnacles so that we could maintain speed, Sam and I were the lookout for any sea creatures that may be venturing too close to, get her out of the water. So we did understand the concerns of each individual, and we were there to help to, keep each other safe. We don't have bathrooms, and hygiene is very important to us. The bucket was our toilet, bucket chucket, cleaning ourselves with wet wipes after every shift, and of course we have a water maker to make water that sometimes you get to sponge off, as we say. But yeah, it was a completely new experience for us, never going before, having done any ocean crossings. And like you say, in this little environment, the sleep area is a very cramped, small cabin on either end. So yeah, you're in this very uncomfortable position for less than half the day. So when we came off the Atlantic, we had our backs tightening up from standing because you don't stand for any length of time during this 40 to 47 days. So it's an experience, but we were able to adapt to anything that was thrown at us as a team. And we're very, very happy, proud of that. And it, continue to show that as women, as Caribbean women, we can take on any challenge, even as you say that we don't see ourselves usually in those spaces.
This is amazing. I think that, you will inspire a whole new generation of Caribbean women, Caribbean young girls who, even if it's not rowing, to consider what they could do in areas that we have not particularly excelled in the past. So congratulations to you. If it's one thing would inspire me to do it, it would be for the Michelle Obama arms. I'm sure you all have it. Yeah.
Yes, so see, that's a good reason to do it.
So congratulations. Thank you so much for sharing. And be sure to come on back to Morning Barbados to share with us how things are going and what your next big adventure will be, or where your next big adventure will be.
We definitely will. We're still in discussion, still recovering from this one. And thank you for having us. They will definitely come back.
For sure. That's Crystal Clashing, Samara Emmanuel, Kavinia Francis, all members of Team Antigua Island Girls who made it across the Atlantic and the Pacific listening to soca music. I absolutely love it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we meet a few wonderful young men who are getting ready for an executive challenge. That's next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's Match Day Live from the 246 with host Damian Best. Your all-access pass to the action happening in the BFA Premier League and beyond. Every last Monday of the month on CBC TV8. Kickoff time, 8:30 p.m. with analysis from our panel and highlights of the top performances. You can weigh in on the discussion via WhatsApp on 228-5562. It's Match Day Live from the 246. Don't you miss it.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
As CEO of CFNet Incorporation,
the highly efficient operations at the Bradley Adams International Airport.
Hey, good morning, Wickler. Good to see you, man.
Cheers to a wonderful day.
Education Caribbean presents the 2023 Mr. Executive Inter-School Challenge Finals, September 3rd, 6 p.m. at the St. Leonard's Boys School Auditorium. 5 deserving finalists, but only one can take the crown. It's the 2023 Mr. Executive Inter-School Challenge Finals. Don't you miss it.
Oh, it's going to be exciting. I'm excited every time I speak with these young men. So let's go ahead and welcome Andre Lashley Coppin, Christian Nicholas, Tashane Dawson, Dante Peters, and Micah Tate, as well as the founder and coordinator of the Mr. Executive Challenge, Winston Cumberbatch. Good morning. Let's see if everybody's on. They're joining us virtually today. Good morning. There's black in one of the squares. That means somebody's missing. But we'll get around to that in just a little bit. So again, good morning and welcome. Good to have you with us, Mr. Cumberbatch. I'm going to start with you. Talk to us about how things are shaping up.
Good morning, Tisha. Good morning, everybody. Well, things are really heating up, as you would expect. Just a few days to go. 3rd of September is just around the corner. And I tell you, these guys have really been working hard. They've been doing in their practices, the practice sessions. You know, they've been preparing for several segments, as you would have understood from before. I've already seen some glimpses of what they're doing for the CEO business pitch. That's going to be exciting. And the preparations for the date segment. I'll be meeting the young ladies soon, but these guys are really preparing themselves well. Things are going wonderful. All is needed now is for the public to be there.
That's excellent. So make sure you get out and get your tickets. Now, Audrey Lashley Coppin, finalist in the Mr. Executive Challenge. Let me hear from you. How are things shaping up from your end? Let us know how you're developing, how things have changed. Audrey, are you there?
Yes, please, I'm here. Things have been going quite well for me, I should say. My preparation has been a bit slow, as some other things have taken precedence as of right now. But however, I do have the support of my teachers from my school and also close relatives as well who will be assisting me in my preparation. So you can look forward to seeing me on finals night, September 3rd, to take the crown.
That is excellent. What would you say has changed about you? I'm sure you've seen changes, Andre, in certain areas. So what would you say has changed about you being a part of this competition?
Yes, because I would say for me, what would have changed would have been my time management skills and also the way in which that I look at a gentleman and also the way of work. We would have also had a segment called the day at the office, so I got some experience in my field of an aspiring architect. So I would have worked with elements architecture. So having that experience in the field, that practical experience, and also the time management skills associated with the challenge and having to prepare for the various aspects, I would say would have improved me in my development.
All right, we're having a little bit of a failure there with technology. You know how it goes. Time for you, Christian. Talk to me about how things have shaped up with you, how things have changed. I know you guys had your projects to do as well. So tell me all about how it has changed, you know, your approach to your everyday life.
Well, I have gained a lot of confidence, and because of this pageant, I've also gained a lot of time management skills, and the pageant has helped me in a lot of areas of life. For example, let me say, I also, for example, confidence, time management. I would say business skills improve my I would say help me a lot with my education as well, or my future goals. I would also like to thank the for the day at the office segment as well. Miss Janice, she's also helped me during that. Um, I will also say the community project, which also helped me go out there in the community and actually lead a lot of people. So it gave me a lot of communication skills as well.
Tashay Dawson, is this an everyday thing in getting ready for it? I know how competitions go with girls, but you know you're competing with some pretty impressive guys here. So talk to me about how you're preparing for this big day.
Good morning. My preparedness it is running a bit slow, but nonetheless, I feel confident enough. Thankfully, this competition has really brought out a lot in me, and I am confident that everything will go smoothly. Hopefully, it has been rough around the edges when it comes to preparing, but I am ready nonetheless. Ready for the night at St. Leonard's.
All right, what about the level of support from your peers, from your family, your neighbors, the schoolmates?
Yes,
You
of
know,
course.
what are people saying to you?
Everyone has been supporting me. They're looking for me to win. I'm also looking for myself to win. Yes. So I really thank everyone that has been with me from the start, who has been supporting me, and big congrats and thanks, appreciation to them. I hopefully will see them there cheering me on with the day on September 3rd.
All right. What about you, Dante? What have preparations been like for you? You have to turn that mic on. All right, let's try it again. All right, so we're going to have to get you to refresh your page. So in the interim, let's talk to Micah about how you've been preparing for the big day. There we are. Okay. Tell me how you've been preparing, Micah. Oh boy, we're not hearing you guys. So go ahead and refresh your pages. In the interim, Mr. Cumberbatch, I know that this must be taking up all of your time, but you're not retired. So, you have all the time in the world to be able to get them prepared for this awesome event that's coming up. Talk to me about your own preparation, to be able to see, your brainchild realized in this way must be an awesome feeling.
Oh, definitely. From the time we started to look towards the inter-school championship, this would have been initially at St. Leonard's Boys School for the first 2 years. But from that moment, the work was intense. We would have had to be in touch with several sponsors. And there are so many sponsors. I know we'll be highlighting them in a big way at the show. But I'll tell you, they're close to around 25 sponsors. So that would tell you the amount of work that was put in communicating, sending letters, responding, all that stuff. And then as well as connecting with the facilitators, the persons who are working on the show. Our intention is to pull off a very well tuned, right, and oiled program. And so there are a lot of persons who are involved in that. But my greatest joy, though, would have come from working with the young men, as you would imagine. It touches my heart because, as we all know, many of our youth, males especially, on leaving school, they find themselves on the blocks and unfortunately ended up in some trouble. And the initiative was started really to redirect our young men and to get them involved in something that would really show what they're capable of doing and help pull their self-esteem up. And I'm seeing this happen with these young men. And that's where my joy comes, to know that you're impacting positively in these young men's lives. And that is one of the reasons to why I'm really grateful for organizations or ministries such as the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Youth and Community Empowerment, Ministry of Energy and Labor, Ministry of Energy and Business, and the Minister of State in the Attorney General's office, Minister Corey. I'm thankful for the interest and the support they have given, because what that has done, it has demonstrated that the country recognizes that this is a need that our young people have, and they're willing to put the ministry's support behind it. We just want that, the public would see value in this and will want to support these young men. Because by supporting these young men, they're helping other young men who may not be involved this year, but to get involved and to help redirect, as I said, young men from negative traits in their lives.
Well, Mr. Cumberbatch, I certainly hope to see most, if not all, schools participating and maybe having a finalist in the finals with 5 days to go. Let's double back and see if we can get Dante in here to tell us about how he's prepping with just 5 days to go. Dante Peters. Good morning to you, Mr. Peters. Are you there now? All right, let's try Micah. Micah?
Good morning.
There you are. All right, talk to me
Yes,
about how you're preparing for the big show.
yes, please. With only 5 days to go, the preparation has been moving smoothly. My teachers, my mentors, they are all working behind the scene to push me, to get me out and ready for this big day. I day by day getting more confident and ready and excited for this event to take place. And the days are counting down, and I'm really looking forward to showing Barbados and showing other young men what this competition has done for me and how it can help them and pull them out also as a young man.
Oh, that's excellent. I know that you guys had to do projects, and I mean, over the time we've talked about the projects and how much they meant to you, because these were not just projects that you kind of pulled out of the sky. You had to kind of engage within your own communities, and that was important. How has that changed your approach to even your community and how you see, how you can impact the people around you and the spaces around you?
Yes, please. My project was targeted to young people and family, And when I went forth to do and execute this project, I was very touched when I saw young, the youth very engaged and listening to what I have to say as a youth also. And it really pushed me, as it brought this passion upon me to continue to do good and go out and try my best to make this or portray this style of living where others can then see me as an example and say, wow, I want to change because of how I see this young man living. And this competition has really helped me in stepping out and being bold and confident, so then I can be able to do that more.
You don't know how much joy you guys bring me to see you, speaking up and being a part of such an amazing program. Hey, we're going to take a short break and come back. Hopefully, when we get back, we'll get a chance to hear from Dante Peters. We want to encourage you to buy your tickets. I wanted this competition to be so big that we had to move it to the gymnasium or somewhere else, not just the St. Leonard's School Hall. I most certainly will be there, and we're encouraging you to come out to the 2023 Inter-School Finals of the Mr. Executive Challenge, representing for 5 different schools. These young men are going to be on stage and, at their finest. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
For the past 19 years, QFM has been sharing with you, learning from you, and together building a community for all mature audiences. That's why we say Q is good for you. To our Q family, we say thank you for staying connected to Q 100.7 FM. QFM is a station of the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. CBC, celebrating 60, connecting Barbados.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Hey, this morning we're chatting with the finalists in the Mr. Executive Challenge who are joining us all remotely. It would have been lovely to have them here in studio. However, they're here. Mr. Cumberbatch is the founding, Andre Lashley Coppin, Christian Nicholas, Tashane Dawson, Dante Peters, and Micah Tate. We're still trying to get Dante in here. We're having some challenges with his mic. Mr. Cumberbatch, it's crunch time. So how are things shaping up on your end? Where can people get their tickets, Mr. Cumberbatch?
Get to the tickets. I just want to make sure that everybody understands where schools. I'm not sure if that came up this morning. That's clearly if you wanted to. We've got Ellerslie, Graydon Sealy, Lodge, the Allen School, and St. Leonard's. So these are the schools that are involved in finals. And I'm saying that because there's nothing better than having your classmates, your teachers, parents, or scholars coming out to represent their school. Now, not that you're not supportive of the entire initiative, because as I said, this is an initiative to help develop young people. But on the night, these young men are looking forward to seeing you. Now, if you believe, and I've made this point clear, I'm going to say it at this point, if you believe that positive activities, things that are wholesome done by our young men, should get as much social attention and airplay as the negative things, which unfortunately flood the media. If you believe that, then I'm calling upon you to put that belief into action. Come to the show and let Barbados see that we are prepared to lift up the positive things that are young people. They're not all negative. And even the ones who are negative, largely it is mostly not their fault. They've come up in environments, they've had a hard deal, sometimes they're distracted, and that is why we need to support them. Now, you can do that by securing a ticket, and the tickets are $40 for adults, $20 for children under 12 down to age 3. And these tickets can be acquired from at CS Pharmacy in Broad Street, Empowered in Sky Mall, and Sure Pay in Wanaccord Plaza in Warrens. And the tickets are moving, and I think you need to get going the next day or two. Secure your ticket and come on out. Let's show Barbados that we really believe that our young men can achieve more, and we want to help them in that direction.
Oh, that's excellent. Let's see if we can jump in here with Dante. We're trying some mixed media. Going back to standard stuff, Dante, how are you preparing for the big day coming up in 5 days?
Hi, good morning. As was said, a lot of preparation, a lot of planning has been put in place with my teachers, myself, and my family. And for me, my mission will be to just execute on the night. And as you can see, the community project, kudos to everyone who would have helped me in that segment. Also, the daddy office, Mr. Granham. I would have learned a lot about law on that one day. In that one day, I would have learned a lot. And yeah, for the fellas, you know, my plan for you guys would be to execute and for us to just come out, have fun, and do our best.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah,
you know, it's good that we were able to get you in here. And we're certainly looking forward to seeing you guys on stage performing in a big way. Let's get everybody else in here as we say goodbye and good luck. I'll be the one in the back with the sign. I've already started making my signs. And of course, I'll be representing for all of you. So I wish all of you the best of luck, because in my eyes, you're already all winners. I mean, you've made it to the finals and you've been able to participate in a massive way in getting your communities involved and being involved in your communities, involving people from around you. And that says a great deal. I can certainly see the growth in terms of your presentations, the way you speak. Mr. Cumberbatch, kudos to you and the entire team. Make sure you come on out to the Mr. Executive Challenge. And of course, it is coming up September 3rd, 6:30 at the St. Leonard's Boys School Auditorium. Go on out and get your tickets to be a part of it. Thank you so much. So participating in a number of different segments, the boys are going to be on show. So grab your tickets as soon as you can. On that note, it's time for us to say our goodbyes for today, Tuesday. I hope you had a great time with us. Remember, as you go through your day, to wear your smiles, be nice to someone else, and come on back tomorrow. We have another great show planned for you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.